Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is the first of the quarterly updates regarding the shed and the layout and everything that's going forward. As mentioned in the Christmas running session, this year is going to be very much packing stuff away and getting work on the baseboards done and getting all the stuff ready for next year when we get going on the layout proper this time next year. So, what's been going on in the shed since you've last been here, and also what's going to happen in the next few months. So to start off, we've had a couple of new arrivals since the last time you guys have seen the shed. This little box van here was made up from one of these little kits that I needed a project to do because I was getting a bit bored. So I bought myself one of these little kits and made it up. And it's become quite a reliable little goods van, which you might have seen in the opening sequence. I'm not sure whether I've mentioned this project or not, but this is a DJH Thompson A2/3, in this case 60522 straight deal. That's been made, it's just awaiting a motor. Then I can finish by doing all the motion, putting it on there, getting it tested. It has been pushed around by my Class 45 Peak, and it does run around its very crude test track, although none of that's really going to matter too much because soon the test track will be ripped up and I will be packing all of my rolling stock away, ready for the rebuild. So what other little projects have I been doing other than the A2, the goods van? I've actually been weathering all of my Suburban stock back there. The other coaches are in behind, but I've been weathering them so as well. Another new arrival, which I think was in the last video, was my standard 4260. So yeah, other than that, not a lot's really been happening out here. As you can understand, it's pretty cold during the winter months. Now it's starting to warm up again. A lot more is going to start going. So I've just got out all my points and seen what I've got and how many of them I've got. I've also been testing my point motors. So next up will be tidying all of this rubbish out, getting it all packed away, getting it all sorted out, and then slowly going through underneath, sorting all the under there out, taking stuff to the tip and whatever. Coming over here, it's slowly started to be tidied up, slowly but surely. And then finally, as we head round, I've also just been cleaning up and tidying up some of the O-gauge projects there. That 04/7 in the background there, that needs a bit more work. And again, so does the B1. They both run, they just need a bit more work. A few light repairs on that one. That one's been running for a couple of years and just wear and tear, and a few bits and pieces that have fallen off that need gluing back on and refixing. And also, finally, I've just finished this. An Airfix P51 Mustang in 1/24 scale. So I've got to find some shelving brackets and put up a shelf for it so I don't keep tripping over it and I don't damage it. So yeah, other than that, not a lot going on out here really. Not too much to really shout and scream about and rant and rave about, to be honest. Like I said to you guys in the Christmas video, probably not a lot of videos will be going out for the time being, because there's no point making any. There's nothing new happening, nothing really happening to give you any progress on and any progress reports, so it'll very much just be me repeating myself over and over again. One project that I haven't got out at the minute, because that's currently in the house, on the workbench in the house being done, is I have slowly started to populate the coronation coaches, so the observation car and coaches G and H. So I'm basically working from the back of the train forward. They've all been fitted out with people. So next up will be the second kitchen third and the open third coaches F and E. And then finally the open firsts and the other brake third, kitchen third pairing. They'll also be done after that. I've also started putting people in the Suburban coaches. I find with Hornby's Suburban coaches here, in this case this is the Grizzlies set of Suburban coaches, I find that one of them's had what was left of the HO gauge people, which I put in my Mark 1s, I put a load of them in there, and the coach just swallowed them up. They're tiny, you can't see them. So for Suburban stock, you definitely do need 00 gauge people for them. But for some reason with the Mark 1s, the HO gauge people seem to have gone in there quite happily, and they look right, so that'll be something to bear in mind. I've also been testing out this. You've seen it before. It's just my Mark 1 buffet car, miniature buffet in crimson and cream. I've been testing out a few bits and pieces with it and just checking it, because one thing on my maroon Mark 1s, in particular the coaches that I've done all my work to, I've made these proprietary couplings for them, and it does sort of limit their use and what I could do with them. I mean, one train formation I used to quite enjoy making when it had the KDs on was that pair of articulated coaches there with a Mark 1 brake on the end, or Thompson and Gresley or Gresley brake on the end. I now can't recreate that, so I'm going to try and copy what I've done here on these with the KDs, if it will adjust, if it will focus on them, and maybe try and copy that a little bit so I can just really get going on and being able to mix and match and actually start using that in a proper train rather than hanging it on the end of a train. I've also been doing some repairs to this, my O gauge 49-foot Gresley Parcels van. That needed some work to it. Muggins here dropped the coach, so I've just fixed the bogies on it and reattached them and all that. Ready to, it just needs a coupling now on that end, and then she's ready to run again. So yeah, that's a brief overlook as to what's been going on. In short, nothing really, absolutely nothing. Just working on bits and pieces in the house, and when I've got the time out here, slowly sorting through stuff ready for the rebuild. So the first phase of the rebuild, what will happen, all of these baseboards here will be lifted. The tops will be thrown and tipped and got rid of, because unfortunately I can't reuse them. Then I'll buy up a couple sheets of 8x4 12mm ply, which is what I used here, and then I will make new tops for this side. Where that plug socket is, that's the new height of where the baseboards will be, so I'll take that plug socket off and I'll realign all of them, which is why all the stock needs to get packed away and all the planes and everything need to get moved. I'll need to take them shelves down and then re-put them back up once the baseboards are at the new height. These top shelves will obviously stay where they are. There's no need to move them really. They're perfectly fine where they are. It's just these lower ones where the baseboards are going to be raised up now. I need to take them down and re-height them. Over here by the door, where I used to have my lift out section stroke folding section on the previous layout, this will literally now just become a solid bar straight across now really. I don't think there's any point in trying to do anything fancy or clever here, because on the old layout, which you'd seen not at the very beginning of the Woodford Vale series, but from roughly about episode 7 on, the one with the great central station along here and the massive engine shed in front, it was the one kill of all the joy was over there. The corners went around over the lift out joint, and if you knocked it even slightly, you just had nothing but derailments, another half hour of sorting it all out, and then slowly but surely getting back around to it, and then you could start enjoying it again until you knock it again. So I'm just not going to bother with a lift out section and just have it so I can enjoy the trains running around. So hopefully in the coming months, particularly towards the end of the year, I might have something a bit more positive to show you. The plan is, over the course of the year, is to buy up the 2 boxes of track. So the fiddle yard will be like this, code 75 flat bottom track. Not going to bother weathering it or anything because there's no point, but it'll be flat bottom, code 75, wooden sleeper track in the fiddle yard. Then once we get to about here, it will then change to the bullhead stuff from Pico. It will come through a station scene here that will go up to about here in the corner, and then as we come around, I was originally going to do trains in open country, but part of me just likes the idea of potentially having trains on arches above a cityscape. So I'm thinking quite heavily into potentially that's what will happen here. And then potentially the city then would rise above the trains here. And then the trains would go sort of into a bit of a cutting that would stop about here. And then they'll go back into the fiddle yard. I'm not sure just yet, but the reason for my theory there is I've got all these really nice cars and whatever from Oxford Diecast, and back in the 50s and the 30s, because the layout will be split because of the coronation, it'll be pre-war up to 1940 LNER, and then if I fancy it afterwards I'll be running 1948 to 1956 British Railways. It does pose a few questions for a few locos in my collection. For instance, this one here, Flying Scotsman, as it would have ended its life in British Railways days. A couple of my 9Fs over there. One of them I think has the lake crests, as does my rebuilt Merchant Navy, my 8F, but the 8F can easily be sorted out. I think that's about it really for all the stuff I have with lake crests. I mean, I've got a peak in green over there, so who knows, I might be a bit flexible with the BR era stuff, but for the time being, immediately post-war to early mid-50s. If I stretch it to 58 and take the deflectors off Scotsman, I think I could get away with it and take the warning flashes off, but we'll see. So for now, that's all I've got to show you. Thank you all very much for watching. I shall see you in the next one in 3 months' time, at the beginning of June or July. I'm going to go with June. And hopefully some work in the shed might have been done. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.